In this episode, we explore the 18K PV hybrid inverter.
It is an all-in-one hybrid, does it all.
From feeding back into the grid to cutting it completely out.
It can literally do anything that you could imagine.
Then in our Grid Gone Wild segment, we debunk the myths of solar.
What is a hybrid inverter and does it work without the grid or with the grid?
We'll also answer questions like, can the 18K PV handle high energy appliances like a 5-ton AC? And discuss how it stands up to 200 amp service for larger setups. Finally, we'll reflect on the exponential growth expected in 2024 and 2025. As we hear from Sarah out in Colorado and Tom from Arizona, we'll dive into how this system performs in real life scenarios. Because with this technology, the power literally is in your hands.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Grid Gone Wild. I'm your host, Nathan. I am the field install manager here at EG4 Electronics, and today we're going to take a deep dive into our 18K PV. But before I get into that, I just want to introduce my co-host today, Mr. Grayson Wing. Grayson, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do here at EG4 Electronics?
Appreciate it, Nate. Happy to be here. First off, at EG4 Electronics, I'm the channel distribution manager, so I work with all our distribution partners and ensure everybody stays in front of forecast, has adequate product, things like that.
Perfect. Yeah, and I know me and my team and your team, you know, we work very closely together.
We absolutely do. So this feels good and natural to me because we do work well together so often.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, if you're getting product to your customers, that means my customers are getting their products and my team gets to go out and do their job. I love it.
Exactly.
Well, first, Grayson, I'd like to take just a couple of minutes here and discuss for our viewers at home kind of what EG4 Electronics is all about and what this podcast represents for EG4 Electronics. And ultimately, what we want to do is we want to dispel some of the myths in the solar industry and give people a deep dive into what EG4 Electronics is and what we do and the capacities and capabilities of the products that we offer.
Right. Yeah, I think that's exactly it. It's kind of what I was thinking. We do things so differently than a lot of the industry. So there are a lot of myths that need to get debunked and things, and education out to the customer, to the installer. That's what's really growing our product and letting it take off the way it has. So.
Absolutely. The other thing I like to do, or that we're going to start doing now that we're going to get a little bit more deep into this podcast, is allowing customers on the back end to shoot us over their questions, and we'll get some of those questions answered on the forum here. And unfortunately, not everybody's going to make it, into the show, but we'll definitely get a response back out to them and maybe get some shout outs along the way.
That's cool, man. Heck yeah. I'm excited.
Me as well. So Grayson, you may notice we're in the middle of the warehouse here.
Heck
and,
yeah.
I've heard some rumors lately just, around the forums and, some previous customers and some friends I have in the industry that there's been some supply chain constraints, right, with raw material goods, shipping and receiving, stuff like that. I know there was that potential strike out there on the East Coast during the port. But, if you take a look behind us, I don't think we have any supply chain, restraints right now. I think we're looking pretty good.
We are looking pretty good. Just like any other growing company, we struggle with our issues. But as you can see, we absolutely like to stay in front of the supply chain.
That 18K PV ain't one of them.
Right. Right. Not at all.
and what makes that so great is we are currently in the process of opening up our manufacturing facility right here in Sulphur Springs, Texas. And so you will have virtually American-made products made by, cowboys doing solar. Who would have thought?
Yep. That is it. Right here in East Texas, we're assembling these now, and we've got a roadmap to be completely all domestic content, locally sourced and assembled here in the United States by the end of next year. So we've started down that road with the 18K. We've got other inverters coming, and then eventually at the end of all of this, we will be doing batteries as well.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I don't want to get into any of the other inverters today.
Sure,
I think really we want to focus on that 18K PV hybrid today.
Heck yeah. Yep.
And we'll get into that in just a moment. All right, guys, well, let's go ahead and jump into that 18K PV hybrid and discuss kind of its capabilities and capacities. Grayson, what do you know about our 18K PV?
Well, there's I know a lot about the 18K PV. Specifically, any one thing that you would like to talk about and I could dive into?
What's that 18K PV? What does that represent as far as that 18K?
So 18K in the 18K PV is actually just the input, the amount of solar that we can intake off of the roof, DC power.
Okay.
into that. We're always continuously outputting 12 kilowatts all out to our loads. And at that point, what it does for us is to continuously charge our batteries. If you have batteries, we're seeing the solar industry and market kind of shift towards a higher need for that.
Absolutely.
With net metering and things like that going away in a lot of situations, or just coming down a little. I guess is a good way to put it. They're not returning the way it once was. Traditional solar isn't necessarily the route that a homeowner or an installer even wants to go down. We're seeing a lot more battery attachments, and with the 18K, it's crazy simple to install. As you know, you're out there walking these guys through it all the time.
All the time.
And, I think a big hurdle that these guys run into is they're like, you say it's so simple, you say it's so easy. I get out here and, okay, what do I do here? There's 4 cables, 5 with the communications cable.
Sure. Yeah, you're talking on the battery reference.
Yeah. Where do these go? If you're installing batteries with the 18K, or your PV going down in your MPPTs, everything's really clear. It seems like
it's very well labeled. Once you open up that inverter box, everything is very well labeled. All the bus bars are labeled. Your MPPTs for your PV input. Your positive and negative battery terminals, the grid load and generator ports are just phenomenally labeled. I've never had an issue as far as wiring goes with guys in the field. But to go back to what you were referencing, right? So you've got that 12 kilowatts of continuous output, 6 kilowatts going to the battery. And that's just assuming, right, that you need to have that much power. Maybe you don't. But I think one of the biggest benefits coming into the 18K and the hybrid situation is that we have the capacity to AC couple to an existing system. So if you had a homeowner at some point that had bought solar 5, 10, 15 years ago, whatever the situation is, now we have the opportunity to take that existing system, add an energy storage system from EG4 Electronics, and really give that homeowner the best possible PV experience.
And they're not having to get rid of their pre-existing systems.
That's right.
Their investment's safe and sound already. Isn't it something like 21 kilowatts of
on that
AC
generator
power?
Yeah, absolutely.
That we can pump through there?
On the generator input, it is. Yeah, 21 kilowatts or 90 amps.
That's crazy. That really is that's a lot of energy if you're taking the 18 and then adding that 21.
That's right.
And you can go up to 21 actually
Right.
on the 18K of just DC power.
Right.
So that 42 kilowatts of
Potentially,
of energy that we're going through this inverter. That's pretty wild. And it's EMP hardened.
It is EMP hardened. Also, depending on your jurisdiction, I know there's a lot of them out there that are requiring manual transfer switches, but our 18K PV does come with an automatic transfer switch. So in the event of a grid outage, we're automatically transitioning over to that load port and not backfeeding any power into the grid. And I think that's got roughly a 10 millisecond transfer time, which is fast enough to keep your laptop running, which is impressive.
Yes, it is. It is outstanding. I've actually talked to a customer who complained that they didn't realize their power was out.
Really?
Because it transferred so fast. Yeah, it was wild. I was like, well, isn't that a great problem? So yeah, really interesting situation there. But that's definitely one of the big features of the 18K.
Absolutely. All right, Grayson. So moving on, making a little transition here. I know we kind of talked a little bit about the benefits of the 18K PV, and we'll get a little bit more in depth with that. But really, what I want to get into is the benefits, right? From a distributor, we're a channel partner, all the way through install. I'm going to let you go ahead and tackle channel first, and then I'm going to come back and we'll talk a little bit about how the installers are working with our systems and what their thoughts and feelings are.
Sure, yeah, I appreciate it, man. So the beauty of our ecosystem is it's very simple to understand how much equipment you need to do so. So you've got 50 amps of power with the one inverter. We start stacking inverters. Now we're going to 100 amps. From there, 150 and so forth. And, I've seen some really, really large systems designed and built out there, and our partners, I think a lot of them are really excited to see that it is so simple. If we're talking about battery attachments, you're going to need a conduit box and a battery, a set of paralleling cables to do that second battery.
Right.
And, because there's less SKUs, there's less equipment that is having to be added to these systems to expand, it's resulting in massive savings for everybody here. It's a much easier sale. We're coming to find out for the actual salesmen of the installers and the EPCs. It's really, really going well. A lot of guys, especially with some partners who maybe aren't as familiar with solar, they get a little overwhelmed. They're like,
Oh,
oh
yeah.
man, I don't know what this is or this is or this. We make it really simple. Yeah, we really do. It's
is.
it's bam, bam, bam. There and there you are, everything you need. If ever there is confusion out there, I think a lot of our partners are really fond of the fact that we pick the phone up.
Absolutely.
They've got a number of people that they can reach out to, go up and down from me. My boss, some of my other colleagues that are handling those certain channels.
Yep.
We try and be as available as possible and answer those simple questions because we understand it is a learning phase when you're bringing on new product from a new manufacturer.
Yeah.
And along with that and virtual trainings, you've been on some on-site trainings with us, helping us do those.
Absolutely.
We love getting out there, and so I mean that's kind of what I'm seeing from the channel side anyway with our ecosystem.
Where do you think we're seeing the real cost benefit analysis for our end users or even our distribution channel partners, right? I mean, I've heard, and you can correct me, right? I'm not in sales. I'm a construction guy. Where are we seeing that cost savings from? Other inverter and battery manufacturers. Where's that real cost savings at?
I think that at one battery, one inverter, if we're just talking about strictly the inverter, with one inverter, we're definitely aggressively priced, but we are competitive with everybody. Talking about output and capability and all of those things. But if we're really talking about cost savings, that's when we're getting into the batteries and we're doing multiple batteries. So at that second battery, you're in under $5,000 and you've got a whole nother 14.3 kilowatt hours of storage to stack up.
With virtually no additional equipment outside of that paralleling kit.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. And so you would need some paralleling cables, quick connect into there with the decks and ends.
Yep.
No torquing, anything like that. I mean, it's so simple a caveman could do it. They say
It's a great reference.
Yeah, for sure. Hope we don't get sued for that one. Yeah. But that's kind of where I see the cost savings. And then when you go to the third battery, it's a no-brainer.
You start getting into like exponential savings at that point.
Yes, thousands and thousands of dollars of savings.
Yeah, it's when I'm out in the field with these guys and we're going through a basic install, one inverter, a couple batteries, very rudimentary, right? Like we talked about earlier, everything is very well labeled. The Amphenol connectors on the batteries are just straightforward, right? Click them in, make sure they're on there attached. There's no torque specifications or anything for that. They're watertight. But I was out at a job site here recently, out here in Houston actually, and I was walking a guy through the commissioning process, and we get finished up, and he stops and he looks at me. And I looked at him and I'm like, "You all right?" And he goes, "Is that it?" And it was so simple that I kind of felt like a car salesman,
Yeah, right. You tricked him.
That's it.
Got him.
I did. We just ran through it so fast, and he was just so impressed, man. And it's such an easy process that I haven't had to go back and do any kind of retraining with those guys. I don't get phone calls out of like a "Hey, thanks for your help," kind of messages. So it's a good feeling, man. Know that we've got a great product in the market. We're very user-friendly. We're very end-user-friendly and very programmable, right? We've got a ton of different settings. If you're trying to optimize time of use or net metering, we've got those capabilities. We've got our AC coupling. We've got our generator port. I want to touch on that a little bit more. On that generator port, what a lot of people don't realize is it has 3 separate capacities, right?
Okay.
We can do that. We can use that generator port as a generator input, right? Correct. We can do that up to, that 21 kilowatts or 90 amp generator. If you should so choose to, we can AC couple to an existing system, which makes it very universal for retrofits for people that want to get energy storage without completely redoing their solar system.
Right.
And then lastly, what a lot of people don't realize, that's also a smart port. And a lot of people may not understand what that is, so that's what I want to talk about, right? So that smart port has the capacity to be utilized in a fashion where you can set it to either, turn on or turn off based on maybe your state of charge of your batteries or your voltage input or your PV input from the roof. And that gives you a lot of flexibility without draining that battery on a large load, like let's say an EV charger, right? Maybe you have a power outage. Your car's relatively charged, but you're not planning on driving. Maybe there's some kind of natural disaster. I know hurricane season has been crazy this year. So what you can do is you can set that to stop charging or to turn that load off to save the battery to maintain your critical loads like your life-saving equipment, your refrigerators, your freezers.
I wasn't even aware of that. I knew that we were very, very programmable and pretty much compatible in any sort of situation you could think of. But man, that really is powerful.
It's extremely powerful, and it's not out yet, but in top secret information. We are in the process of working on a new monitoring system that will be even more user-friendly for the end user, because a lot of the specifications inside of that programming are a little bit above your traditional homeowner's knowledge base of solar. And so what we wanted to do is we wanted to go back and reflect it to allow a homeowner to go in and make very simple adjustments. If you wanted to do self-consumption mode, you just click a button, boom, all the parameters going to be preset for you, pre-programmed, and then you can go in and make fine adjustments as you see what your usage and your battery storage looks like. Couple other things you can do, like I mentioned, time of use. If you're on, Texas has a lot of areas where you get free nights and weekends. We can do an AC charge setting to allow you to charge those batteries to 100% in the evening time when it's free, and then utilize that power during the day. And that really takes away almost virtually all of your electrical costs, depending on the size of your system.
Giving the power back to the people.
That's it.
That's literally it. I love that. The maybe manipulation is a bad word, but the manipulation of the grid and
right.
the power companies, net metering terms and different things like that getting used, and that homeowner.
It's a super cool benefit.
So in that situation, you could absolutely set this up to run without solar.
You absolutely could, especially in this market where you guys have that opportunity for free nights and weekends. So what you could do is you buy the 18K PV, you buy whatever your battery storage is. Like, we're going to go back, we're going to look at your electrical usage, and we're going to determine what is the best option for you, right? Is it one battery? Is it 3 batteries? However that looks.
Right.
And then we just go through and we set that programming up to charge those batteries on those free nights and weekends. And then we use it as a discharge method during the day to power those loads in the house and virtually take the grid out of the equation.
That's huge. That's so awesome.
It is fantastic. It's something that I pride myself on. I've only been with the company a short time, about 6 months. But in my 6 months, man, I've learned a ton. I'm very excited about where we're going in the industry. I'm seeing a huge amount of growth. I think we talked about this the other day, 150% growth month over month. 2024 is going to be a great year. 25 is going to be just crazy.
Unreal.
I know that I'm growing my team currently. I know your guys' team is growing.
Yep.
We've got some brand new account managers on our strategic accounts team.
Yep.
And it's just been an incredible ride, man, and I'm looking forward to the future with EG4.
Definitely, man. Likewise, on all fronts there. It's an exciting time for sure for the brand and for all of us here.
Absolutely. All right, Grayson. Well, it is time for a new segment here on Grid Gone Wild, and we're going to dispel the myths of solar.
Love it.
The new MythBusters episode.
Love it. All right. Let's get in it, man.
And the big one, right? You ready? This is a big one we hear about all the time. What is a hybrid inverter, and does it work without the grid or with the grid?
Love it. Can I take this one?
It is all you, buddy.
I love this. So when it comes to talking about this inverter, and we talk about the programmability, the capability, and things like that, it can literally do anything that you could imagine as far as your home power needs and stuff go. With the grid, it can feed back. It can just be supported. It can cut the grid completely out of the equation and power all your home loads and charge your batteries. You can set, time of use and things like that up then. The possibility is really endless when it comes to this 18K. It is an all-in-one hybrid, does it all.
So what you're saying is, if the grid goes down, this thing is still going to work?
Who cares, right?
Doesn't even matter.
Get out of the equation, grid. You don't need it. You really don't need it with this. In certain situations, I'm sure it's nice to have the grid there for security and things.
Sure.
But we have got thousands of customers who are powering their houses.
All across North America, right?
Yep, absolutely. No interconnection, anything like that, running this hybrid 18K PV inverter.
That's right. You don't have to depend on those other guys that are solely an off-grid inverter, right? We've got the capability of doing both, right?
Yes, I think we've been kind of known as the off-grid company due to the way we kind of started in the market with the DIY community and really supplying and giving the backup power and things to that world. But we've absolutely transitioned over to the professionals, and we're seeing a lot of installers who are traditional grid tie guys starting to experiment and play with off-grid systems and take those contracts with those customers who do want to be completely off-grid using our 18K.
Absolutely. I don't want to reference any specific brand of person here, but a lot of our customers that are doing this off-grid are kind of those, avid hunters, right? They've got that hunting cabin, up, maybe in Canada or, Colorado, Wyoming, Montana, up there. And they really struggle because there is no way to get, dedicated power sources out there.
Right.
And, we've got our batteries, right? They've got internal heaters in them. Those things kick on at, I think, right about 40, 41 degrees Fahrenheit. And those things will run well down into the, single digits.
Yeah.
Which is great, right? So you're maintaining that battery, generation all the time. It's going to have constant power. Of course, a lot of those cabins don't use a ton of power, but to have that guaranteed power source, right? You've got some kind of, heat and stuff like that. We don't want guys freezing to death up there in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, no, heat's a big one up there. I mean, as cold as it gets, and to know that they could get a power source for their cabin without spending thousands of dollars to get power trucked in, they gotta trench it in, however. But I mean, that stuff's expensive, man. We're seeing it there. We're seeing it in the oil field.
Really?
There's a lot of oil derricks and companies that, they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a year or a month even just getting power up to one of these rigs. And we've seen an ESS system be placed in there, and they're saving 90 grand plus.
Wow.
Just getting some power to run that pump and things. So seeing the mix of industries, even like, that's really cool for me,
especially the oil and gas industry, right? Because we're kind of on opposite sides of the spectrum.
Everybody
right?
kind of holds us over here, apart, but to see it all coming together, like, that's special to me. That was one of the first moments with this company that I had, and just went, oh my gosh, we really are kind of helping shape and change the world and doing things that just haven't traditionally been done.
Yeah. I think the one of the other places that's been really beneficial, and we touched on it very briefly earlier, is we had a really rough hurricane season, down here in the Gulf. I know Houston got hit at least once. We just had back-to-back hurricanes out there in Florida with Helene and Milton, I believe. And you know what? Outside of the storm surge, right, with all the water, if you were able to maintain, a low level of water, had your batteries dry, your inverter dry, even with that grid down, you're still going to maintain that power source, for those life-saving equipment, saving that refrigerator and freezer.
Right.
So you're saving a ton of money by not wasting all that food that you potentially would have lost in the event of a grid outage without a battery backup system.
Very, very good point, man. Yeah, I think there's a big opportunity for a lot of those people who live in those areas, that coastal regions and things that traditionally do face some challenges during hurricane season. So, to see some of them adopting this battery, this 18K PV inverter, giving them that option to do so, it's really empowering for them.
Absolutely, man. I love it. Like I mentioned earlier, man, I'm so blessed to be here. It's been a great experience, man. I'm looking forward to the growth.
It is awesome. It feels cheesy sometimes when I get to talking about my employer, but that's really how we feel. So it is really, really cool to see what we're doing.
Yeah, I'm loving the growth, man. Like I mentioned earlier, we've got some new team members coming on. I've got some new guys coming on. You guys are growing like crazy. It's an exciting time at EG4, man.
It is.
And but got a couple other things we want to talk about here in just a minute, but we'll be right back.
All right.
Well, Grayson, I imagine it's about time we get into some customer queries, right? Some questions from our fans. First, we have Sarah from Colorado. Sarah has a question about her high energy appliances, like her HVAC system and stuff like that, and how that kind of works with our 18K PV and our ESS system.
Can it do it? I'm sure is what she's wondering.
What's your thoughts?
I can proudly say that yes, it can. So I talked to some of the guys back in R&D and things, and some of the engineers who help test and design these inverters, and they've got 5-ton AC back there that does fire up without a soft start on it, and I think that's a really powerful statement for us to put out there. We've got proof that it does work like that, and so I think aligning with some of the competition in the market, we're doing some things that not everybody can necessarily say and stand behind.
Yeah, I think I've heard some other conversations of different inverter manufacturers, different battery manufacturers. And to my knowledge, I don't know that there's another inverter manufacturer on the market that's starting a 5-ton air conditioner.
Yeah, no, that's, to be able to say that is that's why I kind of smiled whenever you do that. I love having that conversation. I love talking to partners and installers and homeowners even about this. There's the possibilities are endless. We've got minutes of surge. On this, not seconds, minutes.
I actually saw
surge.
I saw the inrush current when they were doing the testing on that. I happened to be in the office that day, and that inrush current I think was pulling right about 170 amps of initial inrush current.
Oh my God!
And it's incredible, man. When that AC started, I was optimistic, man. I'll be honest. And thankfully everything worked fine. The way it was designed to. And for those of you guys out there in TV land, Sarah out there in Colorado, we will have a video posted soon showing that 18 kPV starting a 5-ton air conditioner without that soft start.
Before we roll on to another question, I've got a question. What roughly, and you're the tech man here, so you would know roughly what are the starting amperage on a 5-ton AC?
Usually, I would say most of the market these days is about 60 amps.
60 amps.
Yep.
Okay, so that's definitely higher than what we brag and boast out there, and we're still handling
that's right
with ease. So
without a problem, it's killing it. We're very, very proud of it.
It's huge.
The R&D guys and the engineers that put up all this effort and go through these testing procedures they're saints, man. I love
those
them.
guys are the real heroes for
That's
sure.
Right.
Those guys are awesome. I love them.
Yeah. All right. Well, who else do we got? We got looks like we got Tom from Arizona, and you want to read Tom's question?
Tom, okay, can I read that? Yep, I can. Tom is wanting to design a system for his shop for 200 amp service. Can the 18K do that? I'm sorry, guys, I don't have my contacts in today. So Tom's wanting to do 200 amp service at his shop. Is that something that can be done? I'll let you take this.
Well, I mean, it can be, right? It's a matter of really designing a system to meet your needs. If the shop's on a 200 amp service, of course, we kind of talked about that 50 amp continuous output, right, of the 18K PV. Off of one, right?
Okay.
So let's do a little quick math. 50 per one, 200 amp service.
Need about 4 of them?
Sounds about like 4 inverters, right?
Okay, all right. That's simple.
Very, very simple math,
Wow.
right? The other thing, and I think, Tom, I want to discuss this a little bit because I read a little bit more of your email earlier, and you mentioned that you had an existing system already, which is fantastic, great. So we also, like I mentioned earlier, we have that opportunity for that AC coupling, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to look, he says, okay, I want 200 amp service. Perfect. So we get you 4 inverters. You already have an existing system, so we're going to go ahead and tie that AC coupled system into our existing, and then we're going to match your battery sizing to what your power output is going to be and your longevity. Brings me into a transition point. We also are in the process of designing a battery string sizer that'll be available on our website. So you can literally just go in there, and they'll have all your appliances listed. Now, of course, it's not going to cover everybody's, right? Everybody's a little different. But you can go through and just select the options that you want. What do you want to power in a backup situation?
You can understand how many batteries you're going to need.
It's going to
truly have.
It's going to do the math for you.
Man, that's so big.
Yeah,
that's so big.
Just go in there and just start clicking on stuff, and you're gonna need a little bit of information off of your appliances, right? Go on the label, look at what that wattage usage is.
Pretty easy to find stuff.
Absolutely. It's usually going to be located on the back of the appliance. There's going to be just a brand or a label tag there that's going to give that wattage information. You're going to input that into our string sizer. You're going to select the appliance, and you're just going to push calculate, and it's going to show you how many inverters you need, how many batteries you need, and what your longevity looks like.
Sounds so simple.
It's like it's very, very rudimentary.
I love it, man.
It's a beautiful time to be alive in EG4, man.
It definitely is. It definitely is. Well, Tom, I hope that answered your question.
Tom, thank you so much. Sarah, thank you so much. We'll get some more questions for our next episode, but I want to, thank you guys for your questions, and we look forward to just some more coming in from you. Well, guys, I do want to thank you for joining another episode of Grid Gone Wild. I also do want to apologize a little bit. I've been absent. With exponential growth becomes exponential work, and I've spent a lot of time, about the last 7 weeks in the field. But I've got some new guys coming on board to maybe help relieve some of my stress and bandwidth, and I'll definitely be back here in a couple weeks to talk to you. Grayson, I want to thank you so much for being here today.
Man, I really appreciate it. I love being here. I love getting a chance to talk to you guys, talk about what we're doing and where the company is. It's exciting time, as we said a couple times in this episode. So,
man, I love it. And just for you guys out there in TV land, next episode, we're going to have our new general manager, Troy, come join us on the podcast and kind of talk about the future of EG4 and what we're looking to accomplish in 2025 and our goals moving forward. Make sure you like and subscribe. Click the link down below if you want to become an EG4 installer, and my strategic team will be in touch with you. Thank you so much. Have a great afternoon.